Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Today I'm super excited because Morgan is not only a friend, but also just amazing. And she also helps me with my gut, and we'll get into that. But welcome, Morgan Lewis, holistic nutrition consultant.
We're so excited to have you.
And founder of 3 Pillars Wellness. So welcome to Girl, Everything's Fine.
Yes, so happy to be here. It's so nice to record in person.
I know. That's
This is
a
like
big
a
thing
treat.
for us.
This is
I know,
a treat.
yeah. Once we tread into the Skype waters, it's gonna get sad.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely different. This is
for
nice.
Well, how the hell are ya? How's your week been? How you feeling?
I'm good. Staying afloat.
How are you doing with the nighttime happening at 3 p.m.?
Oh my God. This year, and I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, I feel like every year I have fought winter so hard. Like it's coming, the dread, blah, blah, blah. And I've tried to take a new approach.
Okay.
It's only November, so let's see. But I'm kind of inviting it in, and I'm just hibernating a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Slowing down, making more food. Like I'm eating dinner at 5 o'clock.
Love that.
Okay.
And I'm just getting in bed at 8:30.
Yes, I love to get in bed at 8.
Same.
It's my
So,
favorite activity.
Yeah, why am I trying to stay up till 11? What's the point?
Nothing good happens after 9 o'clock.
So I'm fine, but I don't know how I'm going to be in January.
No, I think that's a good, and today's a powerful day. It's 11/11. So you're
Yes.
calling that in and kind of saying, I'm starting this, I'm embracing it. And that's a good thing to call in too,
Yeah.
just to embrace all of that.
Yeah.
I
How
don't
about
know.
you, JB? How we doing?
I'm good. I feel like I had a really low key, but fun weekend, but nothing crazy. Not like our weekend, the weekend
Yeah.
before. And
I was violently hungover 2 Sundays ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we celebrated the pod.
It was so rough.
And it was
Oh my God,
horrible.
I haven't been hungover in
It's
it was
really
8
bad.
months.
It's really bad.
Horrible.
You forget.
Oh my God.
Yes. But
And
this
it's
was
long.
it was a nice weekend. And Darius and I had a date night, which was really needed. And yeah, I feel like starting the week, today was a really good way to start the week because it is 11/11. And I was I woke up, obviously scrolled, the Instagram and TikTok, and it was all these ways to really welcome in 11/11. And I was you know what? I'm going to act today as my highest self. I'm going to do things that uplift me, make me feel good. I taught a class, I took a class, I took yoga. I started journaling. I have to finish journaling a little bit later, lit a candle, but I was I'm just igniting who I want to become.
Are you a journal girly?
I'm trying.
Yeah, it's hard if you're.
She's not a journal girl.
No,
not
I
either.
actually
I'm
did
trying.
yesterday. I sat
Okay.
down and I journaled. And when I do it, I like it, but I get anxiety about what am I writing.
Writing, right.
So
Yeah.
I sit there and I'm oh, fuck this. And then I close it.
Yeah.
But I have so many different journals because I think that somehow buying a new journal is going to solve the problem.
it's going to
not.
be pretty and it's going to
It's
make me want
not.
to journal.
It's
I just
not.
bought no joke, $100 customized planner because my therapist was you need something tangible for everything that's going
do
on in
love
your
those.
head.
And then
They're
I
so
copied her
aesthetic.
and did the same
And
thing.
I was
Maybe I should do
everyone
it too.
I told this to, everyone, I'm I got this planner, and they're oh my God, blah, blah. And I'm it was $100. And they're what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm
I didn't even
don't
bat at the
know.
price for some reason. That's what's wrong with me. I didn't bat at the price. I was a journal. I like to write. I'm in.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Not a journal, like a
a
planner.
You can customize it, and they have a bunch of good food stuff in there too, for scheduling or ideas or
recipes
meals.
or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
I'll
could
send
be
you a link.
useful.
Yeah.
It's
Link
and
me.
you can pick your cover, pick quotes and stuff. I actually really liked it.
I've seen this
Yeah.
before, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
on
yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, probably. You've been targeted.
Some more content.
So-
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you doing, Taylor?
Today was one of those days where just fucking human beings in general, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I know. Left and right, people were just hello. And I was fuck off,
Oh, so that's a good day.
Yeah.
But note the sweatshirt.
So just,
Yeah.
but just,
Exactly.
my friend bought this. She was in Iceland and she was in a parade and for something, there was a parade going on. She wasn't part of the parade, but she was I stopped on a dime and had to buy you this sweatshirt. It says, I'm a ray of fucking sunshine on it. If everyone's not
Mood.
watching and listening. And she's that was the most you thing I've ever seen. And I was yeah, that's
Because she is.
pretty much.
That is exactly how I would describe Taylor.
Exactly how I would describe myself. Yeah. No. So it's just Monday. Very Monday.
Yeah.
Very Monday.
But a good Monday. So you should really journal tonight.
yeah.
Okay. Everybody
us.
take a
I'll
journal.
make a mental note.
Let's all journal.
Yes. Great. I love that. All right, Morgan.
Let's get into it. Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us about you. Kind of like, I think it's interesting because you do focus on gut health. And I wonder if there's something in your childhood or in your past that like this became a passion of yours. Like, were you always into this type of wellness? And so like, just fill us in on like how you got started.
Yeah, I will take a long story and try to
You can make it long.
consolidate it. It's a little nuanced. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. So as a kid, I was literally always sick. I was the third child. And I just remember like I had everything going around, every strep, every cold, every flu. I was always on antibiotics. I had ear infections, like literally everything, you name it, anything that went around, I also got it. And I have other theories about that, which is why I said I was a third child. And I would like to circle back on this when we talk about hormones and gut health, but I'm going to leave it there for a second. And then fast forward, I go to college. I had stomach issues. Let me back up a step, actually. I had stomach issues in high school. They weren't terrible, but I did go to a gastro and they kind of dismissed me, gave me a medication. And even at 16, I was like, I don't really want to take this. So my mom found a holistic nutritionist in our town. I went to her and she was like the first experience where I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, like talking about food. I'd never really spoken about food with anyone. We had like a home ec class in middle school, and like we didn't really talk about nutrition. It was like the outdated food pyramid and like how to cook. And so this was a completely different lens. Vegetables, proteins, eating healthy. I changed my diet drastically from that. Like I started bringing salads with lentils and different things to school, and everyone would always comment on my lunches because my mom would make these like beautiful gourmet lunches for me. And so my stomach issues kind of resolved, but I still had this one symptom and I could never figure out what it was. And it was this crippling stomach pain that would ebb and flow, and I would have to excuse myself from class and like literally lay in the nurse's office, and I would get really hot and bothered, and I just had to lay down and let it subside. So fast forward, I go to college. I like still have this stomach issue lingering. Don't really know what it is, but like I'm swept up, like things are going on, like I'm just like living, not really thinking about it. Junior year hits, I go and study abroad, and everything kind of came like crumbling down. I had those stomach issues like every other day, like
Which
those
is so
pains.
hard when you're not home.
It was terrible. I was in Australia. I was so far. The good thing was that like Australia was really healthy. But what turns out is that when I came back, I had all this diagnostic testing done from a holistic doctor, and I was severely, severely intolerant to eggs. And I was eating eggs every single day. I was eating eggs for breakfast. I was using egg white protein powder. I was eating omelets. I was making pancakes with eggs. Like every single thing had eggs.
Which you think you're being healthy, but just like not
exactly.
for you.
And also it's like one of those staple things that you're like, this couldn't possibly be what's causing.
Exactly.
You know
And this
what I
is
mean?
what I say to my clients, because it's like, you always think it's like one thing, right? We go quickly to blame something, but it really is about the dose. And for you, what happens, like if you have stomach issues and you have that groundwork where there's inflammation and leaky gut, all of a sudden food that is healthy, right? Eggs, healthy for my body. I was eating so many eggs that eventually that protein and that molecule was getting tagged as an invader, and my immune system was launching a full-blown attack on those eggs, causing the symptoms.
Real
And
quick,
so,
will you define leaky gut? Just for people who
leaky
don't?
gut is when your mucosal layer becomes very weak in your gut, and your cells that line your colon are not robust. And essentially what happens is these molecules that we break down from our food, I'm trying to like describe this super easy. Like they kind of like seep through. I like to always, if you're watching this, like you kind of like have this like border where your gut is, and then eventually when it's leaky, it like slips away and particles come through, and then it becomes this very tricky situation of your body doing the best thing it knows how to protect you because it wants to support your immune system. But then it starts to see these particles and it gets very confused because they shouldn't be there in that exterior area. And then they say, oh, what is that? Is that self? Is that non-self? Is that food? We don't know, like send the troops, send the white blood cells, like let's go, let's rev it up. And that's when a lot of issues start happening, because it's this inflammatory cascade where you have to then calm the immune system, remove the triggers temporarily, and eventually like heal that gut so you can tolerate the food. So I eat eggs now, right?
Sure.
Like it was very temporary that I took them out, but what ended up happening is the gut set the stage for a hormone issue, which then became borderline Hashimoto's, which I reversed, hypothyroid, SIBO was in there, and I kept getting diagnosed with different issues. And what happened was, everyone was looking at these symptoms like they were not related, but it all comes back to your gut, essentially. And so when I healed my gut, I was able to reverse all of the other conditions. And so now I don't have them. But at one time, I had all of these different diagnoses, right? Like anxiety, depression, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, hypothyroid, SIBO, SIFO, IBS,
Were
food
these all things that
sensitivities.
a holistic doctor was telling you?
Yes, an
Wow.
integrative practitioner, yes. I had seen like conventional and then mostly integrative because that was really the only time I was getting validated for anything I had and actually getting solutions, right? Like I think you can work with someone and then sometimes you outgrow them or you need a different approach or you need to dig deeper, which eventually is what happened to me. But the missing piece with all of it was the digestive piece because I was on protocols to attack, kill. And no one was saying, why are these there in the first place?
Right.
Like, let's zoom out. Like, what is going on here that you keep having these relapses and stomach issues where you're good for 2 months and then all of a sudden your symptoms are back?
Yeah.
And that's what kept me on that hamster wheel of healing.
So when you were in college and this was all going on and you were like, you went abroad, everything was like going crazy.
Yeah.
Were you studying nutrition in college?
No.
Okay.
I was a business major, which is relevant, I guess, but I was studying business. It's really interesting. I always wanted to switch my degrees. I always wanted to actually switch to psychology, but I never did it. And then after college, when I got really interested in healing myself and I went through the whole process for years, like now I've been on a healing journey for 10 plus years. And I call it a journey because there's no finish line. Like, things are always evolving. But I went back and studied and it lined up where I was actually at the first online cohort from this school, Bowman College. And it started a month before COVID hit, which was really strange.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we were like, okay, I guess this was cool that we signed up for remote.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was an interesting journey.
And because everything that happened with you happened in the gut, you decided to go more of that focus.
Yeah, definitely. Because I realized if you have a hormone issue, if you have an autoimmune condition, if you have toxicity, it's all stemming at your gut. Like your gut is not breaking down, it's not absorbing, it's not digesting, it's not allowing these nutrients to be utilized to then help your body detox, right? Like it is all at the gut level. I mean, we've got a nerve called the vagus nerve that runs from our brain to our gut. That's why a lot of people call it the second brain. It's actually connected to the base of our brain and works with all of these other neurotransmitters, our motility. Like it is so connected, and it's probably more connected in ways that we even know now. Like I think the knowledge and that we're having today will probably drastically change in 5-10 years.
Totally.
Like we're just constantly seeing new things. But the gut is really the core. And anytime I listen to a client who's like, I have a hormone issue, I want to work there, I'm always kicking myself because I'm like, I know better. I just wasted time. Like we needed to go the route that didn't seem like it made any sense because that person had probably no digestive issues.
Well, also a lot of people don't know too that you make like, what is it, like 90% of your serotonin or something in your gut. And like, so these people that struggle with anxiety and depression or like PTSD or whatever for a very long time, like a lot of times the root of, I mean, it could be exacerbated and it could come from anywhere, but like a lot of it is just they had a gut thing that they didn't even, it wouldn't even occur to you
Well, think
if you
about
didn't
it
know
too.
about
What
that.
you're however old, your mom's making you a beautiful salad, and what are your friends having? Doritos and bologna sandwiches. So like if you think about those nutrients too, we weren't fed beautiful like green nutrients as we grow up either.
Because nobody knew, like my mom has said to me before, she's like, you know how many times like I would hand you a juice box and like not even think twice about it?
No, it was easy.
It's like what, like 8 to 10 grams of sugar?
Yeah.
That's like more than what a kid should be having in a day.
But as a person who's like not, because most people aren't like educated about nutrition like that, like you're just told like this is okay for them to have, so that's what you. And she's like, and now like I would never. If
I think there's a few factors. One, like the food system in this country is set up for failure.
Yeah.
And that could be a whole other, conversation. I think the second too, and I don't know where we went wrong, but the way that we educate people in this country about food, to not believe that it's the most important choice we have every single day. It's something we do 3 to 5 times a day, every single day. I don't know something more that you do a day besides sleeping.
Yeah.
I don't know where we got it wrong on the narrative that it doesn't matter.
I know, and it's
I don't
crazy
get
because
it.
you hear like traditional, like conventional medicine doctors get like 15 hours of nutrition in med school
that or
something
less,
crazy.
yeah.
So it's like
One class.
the people that you also, if you're not educated and you don't know where to turn, like automatically you're like, oh, medical. And those people that you're consulting about stuff, kind of like you had done with like a gastro, like a lot of them don't even have the
No, they don't have
basic
nutrition
I think
training.
it's also really easy. Like I went to a gastro when I was struggling years ago. Like I lived in New York and they were like, you have IBS-C. And I was like, so you're basically confirming that I'm constipated. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, like there was like, I didn't get an answer of like what to do. It was just like, we've diagnosed you.
Yeah.
And similar to you, I didn't want to get on a pill.
Yeah.
So
No,
now at 34, I'm now trying to work with you and, you know, heal my gut essentially.
The other thing too about IBS that I think people don't realize is it's actually not a diagnosis. It's just a grouping of symptoms. So if you go to a gastro or a like practitioner and you have bloat, diarrhea, or constipation, or both, the swinging back and forth, maybe some heartburn, belching, bloating, distension, fatigue, I don't know, some of these random symptoms. If you've got like 3 or 4 of them, they're just going to slap an IBS diagnosis on. And there's now
Great.
right, exactly. It's like, okay, thanks. This is so not helpful.
Yeah.
And I hear so many people like, I have IBS, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hot girls have IBS. And I'm like, first of all, like, why is that a
How
thing?
did we get there?
Well, how did we get here as a society?
How
Please.
did we get there?
Can we get out?
Those TikToks that are like, you know, you got a hot girlfriend if she's like shit in her pants or like whatever. And I'm like, how did we
get
tie
here?
these things
Also
together?
like, no.
Also,
It's not hot.
but you
No.
see it, it's like hot girls have stomach issues. And I'm like, but why?
I know. Sometimes I'll literally use that as my hashtags because it's trending.
Yes.
Like,
It's-
oy,
yes.
Okay. So what I was saying earlier, though, is about the IBS symptoms. There's actually studies, and that one of the tests I use, there are certain strains of bacteria that can overgrow that are not supposed to be there, and they actually directly mimic IBS symptoms. So one is like streptococcus, staphylococcus, bacteroidetes. Like some of these, if they're overgrown, some are good, some are bad. If they're high or low, it can actually mimic the IBS symptoms. And like that provider didn't even dig because you can use herbals, change your diet, rev up your digestion, and get rid of it.
So crazy.
But then people are walking around believing they have IBS. And when you believe a diagnosis, it kind of becomes a
becomes-
personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Hence the internet. Okay, wait, let's go back to 3 Pillars Wellness.
Yes.
Yeah.
You obviously, we got into like how you study nutrition and how you got into it. Why did you start your own practice?
Oh God. Okay. So I'm trying to think like where to even start this because I've always been an entrepreneur, and I actually dug up notes. I went to a life coach in 2017.
Love that.
And we did this like journal on values, and my whole thing was like finding joy, alignment, and helping people on a micro and a macro scale. And I don't even remember writing that. And I think deep down I always knew like I wanted to help people. I've always been very empathetic and nurturing. I just didn't realize it would be in this capacity. But I've always had little businesses. Like in high school, I had a jewelry business. And then when I was at school, I did an organizing business. I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. And I worked in tech for a bit. After that, I realized it's just not for me. I don't like answering to other people.
Yep.
Simultaneously, I was going back to school to get certified. And then I just had this light bulb moment. I was working at a company that I just didn't feel aligned with, and I left and I bet on myself.
Yeah,
Heck
absolutely.
yeah. So what does 3 Pillars Wellness mean?
It means there are multiple pillars in healing, body, mind, and soul. I believe that you cannot find health if you're not aligned. And
I agree there.
Yeah, right. And like your nervous system is so important for healing. And then you also need to be soul aligned. Like if you are unhappy with your life, you'll never be healthy because you're carrying around baggage, and that weighs so much spiritually on you as well. And so when we are talking about healing, and this is what I love about integrative work and a lot of what I do is like looking at the person as a whole. Like, how are you showing up for yourself? How are you taking care of yourself? How are you showing up for your community? What are you doing day to day? Does it light you up? How are you finding joy? Does the food you eat bring you joy?
Bring you joy, yeah.
Like we've gotten so confused with how we eat in this society. And I had this moment last week where I was like, oh my God, I have been like tracking my protein and all this shit. I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to eat foods, like shop the way I like to shop and just like eat foods that make me feel good and like not be so fixated on these macronutrients and just like bring back joy to meal times. And this is what I tell clients, but sometimes, you know, we get in our own heads.
Yeah.
And so all of these things are so important. And that's where honestly the bread and butter is. Like, that's where you heal.
Yeah, I think we forget too, like, as someone who has struggled with eating disorders, both of us, like,
Same.
knowing when you're full is something that like you lose over time. Like when you're a child, it's like, how's your tummy?
It's
Are you
intuitive.
good? And then as you grow up, all of these social external factors get into it and you're like, do I like what I'm eating? Am I full? Am I over full? Do I feel like I'm gonna, like all of these things that like you lose so much. And what you're talking about is like really connecting with your gut so that you do know, are you full? Is this lighting me up? Do I even know what foods I like? How can I get more creative with food or make it simple because I don't have a lot of time, but to really enjoy what I'm eating so it makes me feel good overall. As an entrepreneur and someone who has built their own business, what do you think is one of the biggest struggles as you try to build your business?
There's so many. I think I don't want to give the answer of imposter syndrome because I don't know if it's that exact name, but there's this like moment, I think, as an entrepreneur that you're in the flow, you're in a flow state, everything's good, you're getting the clients, you're doing the work, people are healing. And then sometimes you have like a difficult case or something that tests you. And then you have this moment of like imposter syndrome, I guess, or it's like, what am I even doing?
Like,
is this
can I
working?
do
Like,
this?
it's literally mental. Like
Yeah.
if you can get out of your own mental way, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Like
100 louder for the people
Right?
in the back.
Yeah.
Right? Like
100%.
And then I hear people are probably listening being like, what does that mean? Like, how do I fix it? And I think the first step of that is like acknowledging the thought patterns. Like when you're anxious or stressed, like where do you go? Like where do you route? Because when you say the same thing over and over, it becomes a storyline.
And you start to believe it.
100%. And then that's the thing you need to work through.
Yeah.
Where
Start
did that
talking
come
to
from?
yourself differently.
Why do you believe that? How can you work through it? What's actually happening concrete in your life that's actually opposing that thought, right? Like my thought, can I even do this? Then I'll tell myself, okay, I have dozens of clients, they're getting better. I read my testimonials. I'm like, I'm doing it, actually.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually doing it.
Right.
Please, I saw one of your testimonials and I was like, I need to be her. Like, this is what I want for me.
Shout out,
please. With what you said, like imposter syndrome, there's a lot of people doing this on the internet. Like a lot of people who are like, I'm a health coach.
Yeah.
I'm a gut health coach. I'm a gut health expert. Or like, this is what my gut's doing. Or like, I'm going to tell you why my gut health, whatever. And we got into like what gut is. But like, when someone is looking, besides obviously everybody should work with Morgan, just saying, because I am, and I like believe it and it's amazing.
Thank you.
But when someone's looking and is like, okay, I want to work with someone to help heal my gut, what do they look for?
Such a great question. Okay, first I want to like acknowledge the first part of this. Like there's so many people on the internet. I don't like get mad about this. Like I know some people with certain credentialing get like pissed off. I actually think like in a certain capacity, the more the merrier because it's destigmatizing it. So like go off.
Yeah.
I do have a problem when people take random health advice from random influencers. Like
Yes.
please do not take a supplement because some influencer said it cured her constipation.
Oh, that
Like,
was my other question about like on TikTok
Yeah.
when I'm scrolling and they're like, do you have high cortisol? Pour this in your water and your cortisol will go down.
Well,
and
we
I'm like,
just, like,
if
it's just-
life was that easy.
We had
Yeah.
a conversation about this on our last episode that it's just like a lot of those people too are just like looking to make a buck and like they
looking
will
to make
say
a buck, and maybe it did work for them.
100%.
Cool. That is awesome. But every body is a different body. So what works for someone might not work for you. And I cannot stress this enough. Supplements are strong. They work and they're strong. So you don't want to take something you don't know. Like for example, everyone, loves adaptogens, right? Like there's great adaptogens. For someone who has anxiety, you don't want to take certain ones. They're contraindicated with medication. Like you have to be careful with these things. So that's just my first call out. The second thing about being a coach and what to look for. I think credentialing is important. I don't think it's everything because there's probably someone who has more credentialing than me that would probably say, I don't know what I'm doing. So I think it just depends on like spectrum and like who you're talking to. The biggest thing with that is resonating with the person. So it's like if someone's putting out energy and you're like, that's my issue, they've gone through that. I can see that like their story is similar to mine. You've walked the walk. I think that is like the best in my opinion. Like I personally wouldn't want to work with someone who's never had a thyroid issue if I had a thyroid issue. Like that wouldn't be the coach or practitioner for me. But that's not what everyone needs. And I think the second thing is you need to make sure that your energy, like, are you someone who's going to have a lot of questions? Do you need to have chat support? Like, what are they offering that's going to help you succeed? So the way I structure my packages, like I do meetings and I also offer chat support because I know things come up.
So yeah,
But like, if you don't need that support, then you
I
might not
ask
need me,
everything.
right? Like, but I agree, because that's how I am.
I'm like, hey, I've been sick a lot. Like, tell me why.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of that, so let's say like I was having like some stomach things. I came to you. Walk me through like briefly, because I know everybody's different.
Yeah.
Like what it kind of looks like if I come to you for
Yeah. Great question.
gut advice.
So I have split my packages now, because I know that not everyone can upfront like commit to multiple months.
Sure, yeah.
So I do offer individual consults, because I
Which
think
love that.
that's great, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can interview me, I'll interview you. We'll see if we're a good fit. I also have to make sure the clients are invested, because I don't want to set us both up for failure here. So once that hour goes accordingly, right? Say we want to move forward and you're ready to go and it's a great fit, we sign up for a 7-month program. From there, we meet every 3 weeks, 3-ish weeks, with chat support, obviously, in between. And then we'll do some testing. So I offer a lot of testing. I offer stool, food sensitivity, SIBO, blood work, hormone panels, adrenal panels. I don't usually run hormone panels, because it starts in the gut. So we fix the gut. The hormone issues usually resolve. And I like to save people money. But we usually do a stool and or food sensitivity, depending on symptoms. If someone has a history of an eating disorder, I don't typically do that. And maybe we would do blood work if they've got a thyroid issue, or maybe we do that a few months in if the person has realizes they might need to see me for longer. But typically it's a 7-month program. We build you up on some supplements that are healing, change diet, lifestyle. Then it's really consistency.
From there.
Yeah.
Love it.
And
then we
coffee
wean them
enemas.
off.
I'm
Coffee
gonna do it.
enemas.
I'm gonna do it. I'm not kidding. She ran it. She
joy
did.
on her face.
Wait,
Coffee
she did a
enemas. Coffee enemas.
webinar, and then this is the best. So I
Oh,
get
yeah.
I
We
get
have
some
webinars,
free
too, which are
stuff
fun.
from brands or whatever. And so I was like, Darius, I'm doing a coffee enema. I
probably,
haven't done it yet
nearly
though,
fainted
because
when he heard.
it just came in last week, but then he's leaving, so I'm like, I'm gonna do it when he's gone.
Yeah, it's nice to have a calm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Maybe the dog's
I
not
can't
there
believe
either."
you would trust this random company. And I was like, no, Morgan told me to do it. He's like, oh, then I believe it. Okay. But I'm
We
like a
love
little
Darius.
nervous, but I'm excited.
Okay, do we want to talk about this?
Yeah,
Like a
I
brief-
do.
Okay.
Morgan's like, what?
Tell me more.
Where to start? Morgan.
Okay,
Taylor.
coffee enemas have actually been around for eons. Like, there's info on this, that the Egyptians did this. It's been around forever. I also just want to add that many cultures have regulated, that's the wrong word. Many cultures have religiously done cleansing. They do seasonal
Yes,
cleansing.
yes.
They do different types of cleansing as spiritual means. And, there's something to be said for that. So we can come back to that. But the thing about coffee enemas is it's multi-use. One is that if you are someone who's IBS-C and constipated, probably don't have IBS, but I'm just going to say that for lack of brevity here. The coffee enema is going to help you move stool. So that's a really easy way. Instead of loading up with other supplements and other things, you can actually start with water, and it will really help open up your biliary tree and get bile moving, which then helps you break down certain food groups better and helps things flowing. But that's one of the really good benefits, just from an overview. If you are constipated, this is a great therapy for you, so you can start getting regular. But the best part about coffee enema is there's actually been studies that the caffeine, I'm not going to bore people with the science, but it actually goes through a vein and it helps the body make more glutathione. You both know about glutathione.
Yes, we do.
And so there's been studies that in the hours post the enema, there's a 300% increase of your body actually making glutathione. I don't know anything that's cheaper that you can do at home that you can increase your glutathione 300% for up to multiple hours after doing something that takes 20 minutes. I really don't know. And quite frankly, glutathione supplements usually taste disgusting. They have to be in a very short shelf life. You could do IV therapy, more expensive. But we need glutathione in our body, and we're constantly bombarded with toxins. And so it's a really nice way to get stuff out, increase bile, increase glutathione, rev up digestion, and people feel really good after them. They feel energized. They say they have better cognition. It's really good for detox. So sometimes I have people on parasite protocols. It helps get through biofilms, cleanse parasites, liver flukes, all these other things in our body that are not supposed to be there and not serving us. So
we'll link to your affiliate
coffee
page.
enemas.
Yeah. We'll link to your page.
Yeah,
so
I think
people
I have an
can-
Amazon storefront with all this stuff. But if you are interested and you're sitting there peaking interest, you can go on YouTube and find really credited holistic practitioners who show you how to set it up, how to brew the coffee. There's so much information online. I would watch those before because you have to strain it if you're buying grounds, and you just want to be careful, and you don't want to burn yourself because you have to let it cool. So just make sure you watch instructions. Don't put burning coffee up the other end. I know. I did not expect we'd talk about that today.
No, I
feel like here we are.
I knew it because I was like, this is amazing. You mentioned SIBO, and we also had someone who DM'd us and was like, can she talk about SIBO?
Yes,
and I know you do like post about it a bunch, but what is SIBO?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about this because the IBS diagnosis got really boring, and then everyone started getting the SIBO diagnosis because it was like the second thing that people could test for. So SIBO stands for small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. Basically means you have an overabundance of bacteria in your small intestines, and it should not be there, so it's causing a host of unwanted symptoms. It mimics IBS in a lot of ways. It can cause bloating, belching, distension. You could have the diarrhea, constipation. But the biggest thing with SIBO is that you can have either methane gas, hydrogen gas, or the combo. And each one has a different presentation. But with SIBO, the typical testing is you drink a glucose solution and then you measure your gas. So you breathe into a bag and then you measure the methane, hydrogen, or both gases over either a 1 hour or 3 hour period of time. That test, and I've done it because I have had SIBO, is a freaking nightmare, and there's so many false positives and negatives because you're breathing into a bag, and then if you breathe back in, like taking your inhale after, you can suck back some of the air up, you can exhale again and affect the solution, and it's so incredibly confusing to do at home that like there's so much human error.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it sounds very inconsistent.
It's ridiculous, and you have to eat a certain diet before the test, I believe. It's very crazy. So here's my hot take. I don't really think SIBO is a plausible diagnosis. I think it means who you're working with didn't look hard enough because the question they should be asking is why you have SIBO in the first place.
Yeah.
90% of the time, I would say 99, but there's always an outlier. The SIBO is because of your digestive process at the top, right? What happens downstream is usually a result of what's going on upstream that's causing issues, and then it's showing at the end, right? So I always compare, like, you've got issues. Someone says to take a probiotic to fix your issues. That's working on your colon. That is literally the last step of digestion. Why would you start there? You have to start at the top.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out, like, are you using something orally that's affecting your digestive processes with your saliva? Because the first step of digestion, it's actually your brain. Thinking that you want to eat, your brain says make saliva. So you have to be in a calm state to even do that.
Yeah.
Second is you need robust saliva to break down your food. You need to chew your food really freaking well. It's sludge. I'm an offender. I don't really do this all the time, but I think about it, and you should do it more often.
Same.
It's very hard.
I'm like thinking of all the times I've just like
I know. Putting the fork down is like actually painful.
Yeah, no, it is.
So then your food goes down your esophagus and it hits your stomach, and this is where I see most of the issues: stomach acid. And in today's society, we're like, stomach acid's bad, take a PPI, take a Tums, take a Prevacid, take all this stuff, you have heartburn, fix it. Like, oh my God, the narrative is so wrong. You need stomach acid, and you need a lot of it, and you want a lot of it because not only does it break down all of your food groups, it helps you digest your food, it's also a part of your immune system. It's actually a way to kill off pathogens, E. coli, foodborne illness, parasites. We need the acid. And so most of my clients that have SIBO, they don't have enough acid. They're not breaking down their food. That's why they're belching. And then what happens is
they're
secondary.
thinking, I need an antacid.
I need an antacid because I'm belching or I'm having heartburn or something's going on. And a lot of symptoms are like intertwined. They're so similar to one another. And then a secondary comorbid symptom I usually see with SIBO is H. pylori because H. pylori thrives in a low acidic environment. And guess what H. pylori's number one symptom is? Belching and bloating. So that's what SIBO is too, right? So it's like we're not digging deep enough to figure out the why, and then people are given either Xifaxan or rifaximin to treat the SIBO. They do the 2-week antibiotic. They feel really good for a month or 2 months, and then everything comes back like clockwork at the 3rd month because it wasn't fixed. You just temporarily killed off that bacteria, and then you never fixed the digestive capacity piece, so you're back on that hamster wheel. And then you have to follow the low FODMAP diet. Oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
talk about food anxiety.
Yeah.
Which you should be able to eat onions and garlic. They're really healthy.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't, be
That's
avoiding all
literally,
those.
I was like, when we first started, I was like, she's going to put me on this like really crazy diet. Like, because everybody, that was what everybody thought is like, you got to eliminate everything, like an elimination diet, eliminate everything and bring everything back in. But truthfully, like, because I think also like I've struggled with food and whatever. And so
we didn't even do that.
Yeah, no, not at all. It was more just like talk, supplements, change how you're eating.
Yeah,
lifestyle.
And it's like if you need to completely take every food out of your nutrition plan to heal your gut, something is not right. This approach is not right. This setup is not right, because healing is going to take discipline and it's going to take planning, right? To make change, we need action and planning and whatnot. But you should not be so miserable that you can only eat 5 foods. Like that is just not sustainable. We're not meant to be that way. And so if that's the point, like I just would say you need to find someone else
to work with. We had, so SIBO was one of the questions that we got. And then this is another one, which I know you said we could like go on and on about, but are there any like general holistic tidbits for people with autoimmune gut stuff like Crohn's? Like, do you have any like, here's some,
or even where to start in the holistic realm.
Because it's very hard. I mean, one of my very best friends has Crohn's, and actually a couple of my very good friends have Crohn's, which is kind of crazy. But they've had enough flare-ups that have been like scary conversations in a hospital where they've been like, well, we have to take your X amount of your colon, or like, how do you feel about having an ostomy and like that kind of thing. So is there any like just umbrella things that people can abide by for like autoimmune, or what your stance is kind of?
I think with all of this, and this is something we haven't really touched on, I think you need to know what your goal is. For some people with autoimmune issues, their goal is not to come off of medication.
Right.
And that's okay. Like if the medication is helping you and you're getting a better quality of life, that's great. But I also think there's stuff you can do lifestyle-wise that will also help. So I think that's like the first step, because with some of these autoimmune cases, like there's infusions, there's medications, like, and that might be saving you right now, and that's totally fine. And I'm not talking down on Western medicine, because it can absolutely be life-changing. But there is so much to do from a nutrition, stress management, lifestyle support that can really help. I think anyone who has an autoimmune condition probably should be gluten-free in this country. I know people don't want to hear that, but the gluten in this country is sprayed with Roundup or glyphosate. It is incredibly toxic. I would say everyone should avoid this because it affects fertility, neurocognition. I mean, truly everything. It is so scary when you read about it.
And I just want to harp on, that's the problem with the gluten, is that it's treated with this.
That's one problem. The second problem is that it's been hybridized. So if you've heard of ancient Elkhorn wheat, which a lot of people are now seeing and buying it, or getting like wheat shipped from Italy or things like this, which I'm all in support of, in favor of. The ancient Elkhorn wheat was very small. Like the actual gluten molecule didn't, it was smaller, it was different protein structure, and it didn't yield as much wheat per crop. When we had the Industrial Revolution, we changed the crop. We actually like, kind of what we did with fruit. We picked the best of the lot. We kept breeding that, and then the fruit got sweeter over time, right? Like fruit today tastes like candy. It's not like what it was like, 10 years ago.
Like blueberries are like
this
yay big. And I'm like, what?
Question mark. So the same thing happened with wheat. They did the same thing. And so now the protein structure is completely different. Our bodies cannot recognize it. So a lot of people have gluten intolerance and then therefore celiac, which is also another autoimmunity issue. And people are having digestive issues. My clients, I swear every single client asks, why do I have to avoid gluten? And I share this and I say, I don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's the Roundup and I don't know if it's the hybridization, but I do know our body doesn't like either of those. And so it is just not a sustainable thing to be eating, especially if you are someone who has autoimmune issues, who's got some level of leaky gut, because it starts in the gut. We know everyone who has autoimmune likely has leaky gut or gut inflammation. And then you're adding like fuel to the fire. And it just really does not set the stage for a conducive healing environment. And if you're someone who's inflamed, like we need to lower the inflammation to give your body the best chance of healing. This is the same principle I use with doing food sensitivities, right? Same with me and my egg story. I removed eggs so I could give my body a reduction of inflammation to give it the best chance of healing while I was doing that protocol. That's the same thing. If you've got an autoimmune lifelong issue, you want to give your body the best success of healing. So we want to remove inflammatory triggers. The second is using food as medicine. I mean, eating real foods. 80 to 90% of your diet should be something that you can pronounce. Lettuce, apple, quinoa, rice, chicken, right? I have no problem with using some healthy brands like Primal Kitchen and good quality ingredients, but you really should be able to pronounce what's going on. Seed oils, super inflammatory. We want to avoid those. And then I'm trying to think like lifestyle wise, like breath work, meditation, anything like in that realm that will help you tap into your nervous system is really important because the body can't heal when we're in a stressed environment. So when you're stressed out, the parasympathetic mode is nicknamed the rest and digest mode.
And I've read somewhere that like one of the biggest causes of inflammation is simply stress. Like,
oh yeah.
I'm there. But
I think too, like,
Morgan's always like,
Jordan's like, I'm a 9 out of 10.
I think you're really stressed. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not.
But like, if you ask somebody that question, like, and you were like, what do you think the biggest cause of inflammation was? You'd hear like left and right, like medical things. You'd hear like people don't think like stress.
Well, our world right now is so fucking stressful.
I know. Yeah.
Like we all have
If you
a
don't even
literal
have
high-speed
interpersonal
computer,
stress
right?
one
Like
day,
you've got your phone, which I would beg to say is a huge stressor, even if it's like good stuff coming in. It is just keeping you on all day. Like we don't realize, we don't allow ourselves to be bored. We don't allow ourselves to disconnect. We don't allow ourselves to like actually sit in silence. Like when I was a kid, like my mom wasn't entertaining me every second.
No.
You also, as a child too, were like learning how to like self-soothe, how to like
learning
be with
these
yourself,
habits.
How to,
Totally.
You hit on gluten, and there's a lot of gluten alternatives now.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, I know Bonza was big, and then there was that whole thing that
Can't eat
happened.
the Bonza, can't eat the Bonza now.
And then
I
I feel like
I'm sorry, everyone.
No, but I think that's a thing too. Is like when people are like, okay, I'm gonna have my chickpea pasta, and I'm gonna have like, because I think for me, it's like personally, I'm like, I want to. And I know in America we eat like not normal, but like, oh, I want to have like pasta too. And I want to have like a sandwich sometimes. And so there's all of these alternatives out there. But sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is this made of? And what is this? And
especially like some of the gluten-free stuff. Like you flip it
Scary,
over and you're like,
scary.
I might as well just eat. I might as well just drink the Roundup.
No,
at
today
this
I
point,
just saw this cookie, and it was like on the front, it was like listed 5 ingredients. And I was like, oh, this is so good. And then I flipped it over to actually see the ingredients, and I was like,
the xanthan gum. She's in everything.
She's getting a lot of time.
She is.
She's famous.
Okay, so, I'm trying to figure out where to start because it's such a good question. I love it. So first, same principles, right? Like, is it real? Read the label. I want to caution everyone, gluten-free is not healthy. By being gluten-free, it doesn't mean you're necessarily healthy. Like, I see a lot of people who are very unhealthy and identify as gluten-free. Okay? So let's just set the stage there. I do not recommend doing products that have a bunch of ingredients, like kind of like the Bonza. I'm going to call them out because if you actually flipped it over, there was like some weird stuff in it too, and like xanthan gum and weird things. So I personally didn't really eat that. But now the other issue is the glyphosate and the Roundup. I typically like to use foods that are naturally gluten-free. Quinoa, rice, buckwheat, even though wheat is in the name, it's actually gluten-free. And then I think spelt is gluten-free. Don't quote me. But you can use like those as your guiding light. Like there are brands, there's one called Pacha that is literally just buckwheat and they make bread. And they put like nutritional yeast and salt in some of the flavors, but it's really clean and good. And that would, like, for me, that would probably be a part of the 80 to 90 that I would still consider like real food. Then we start getting into the how do we eat as Americans, where people get really upset about being gluten-free because we've normalized how many carbs and packaged goods are in this country. And that's a larger conversation because it's harder to be gluten-free here than it is in other places when it's normal to just eat an apple and people don't think you're on a diet.
And also I think like you hear a lot of times like someone say like, oh, I tried like this gluten-free bread or like waffle, whatever. It tasted like plastic. It tasted disgusting. Probably because it's full of nasty. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah,
a
it's just not
reason-
good.
Shared like I think it was like a pancake or a waffle or something
Yes.
recipe that was, I believe, I'm guessing gluten-free.
Well, I have been gluten-free, let me see now, since 2018, 6 years. I just recently started eating a little bit of sourdough, but I don't think it agrees with me. But that's whatever. Anyways, my husband is a really good baker, and he's also gluten-free. He's constantly playing around with recipes. Let me tell you, like, if you dedicate time and some experimentation, knowing that it's not all going to come out good, because we've had a lot of failed recipes, but if you figure out how to work with the gluten-free flours and some of the other alternatives like the almond flour, coconut flour, tapioca, and you figure out how to do the right ratios and cook it at the right temp and have the right stuff, you will make food that is probably more delicious than regular stuff.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
made pumpkin snickerdoodle cookies last night. They were insane. Like, I was eating them. I'm like, this is amazing.
Don't
And
worry, we're not mad you didn't bring any.
I know. I should have brought them. I didn't even think.
I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll make another batch.
Okay, yeah.
Well, have him make it. I'm not a good baker. But I've brought the stuff to my family gatherings, and I didn't tell anyone it's gluten-free.
Yeah.
And my dad, who was like, oh, I don't want to touch it if it's gluten-free.
Yeah.
He was like, this is delicious. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, if you only knew what's in this thing. Like, it's
Yeah.
literally so healthy. So that's what I've been personally trying to do with my family, because I just like slowly start bringing things in, and then it opens people's minds, and they're interested and they ask questions. So I don't really force it on people unless you're my client. So that's, you're paying me for advice, so I'll give it to you. But that I think is the best place to start. Reading ingredients. If it's sketchy, just put it back. Like, there's so many bad brands on the market. You have to do some research. It might be a little bit more expensive if you're looking for really particular things, but also like try to bake it yourself if you're open to it. Like, it's a good experiment, and it's kind of fun. It's something to do. It's a fun activity, testing out new recipes.
And I think like if you invest the money now in like your foods, you spend less money later when you don't have
Health issues.
Yeah, a bunch of health
Yeah,
issues.
you pay for the food now, or you pay for the health bills later.
Right.
It's not all food, but it's most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna have to invest in your health anyway. Like,
Right.
you either
Why
have to
not?
deal with it later when you took no accountability for it your whole entire life, or you take accountability for life and maybe that's enough and you're set up for
Yeah.
success. Shit happens. We're living in conditions that we can't always control, right? In cities, pollution, things like that.
Yeah.
But you want to assume that if you're doing the right things, you're going to be healthy.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's a lot also of gut health, nutrition, whatever advice out there. What's one thing you've heard of that you're like, that is absolute BS?
I hate greens powders.
Yeah.
I fucking
Let's
hate
talk
them.
about the greens
They're
powders.
so dumb to me, because
Yes.
what people think is that the greens powder replaces eating vegetables. Like, when did that become a
See,
thing?
I used to use a greens powder. This was like a while ago.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that I was like, because I was vegetarian at the time. So like
Okay.
I was the vegetables and things, no problem.
Yeah.
But I was sold that it was like something that really
Marketing.
debloats you. So much so that like I would take it and I would be like, I think it really
I think I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
And then I would
placebo.
like tell other people like, you gotta get on this greens powder. Like, I'm telling you. And then like
you.
after some time I was like, this is a crock of shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it is a crock of shit. I don't know. Like, they're just not great. They're processed. I mean, think about it. How do you get a greens powder from all the shit that's in it? It's literally 100 different nutrients, mushrooms, powders, fruits. Like, have you ever read what's in one of those?
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
do you know
an
how much
extensive-
processing
yeah.
has to go into
No, I
that?
look at it and I'm like, well, it looks green.
yeah. Like,
It is literally like the
it
number one
tastes like
processed food.
pulverized kale. So like
Yeah.
I guess it's doing what
I've
it should
tried
do.
a few out of curiosity. They all taste disgusting.
They're all not
Yeah.
good.
So I don't
taste
know,
gross.
like,
If-
that's part of
if
it
they
too.
have to add a flavoring to it, if they have to make it like lemonade flavored, clearly
No,
like
there's
something
been
ain't
like
right.
blueberry,
Yes,
blueberry
disgusting.
something
It's
greens, and
disgusting.
I'm like,
And they're fucking expensive.
They're
doesn't
expensive.
add
AG1, which like
Yeah.
people love that shit.
It's like $70 a month or something.
Oh my god! I think it's for a 30 serving
if
bag.
you think
like,
about it though, AG1 did a really like snaps to them for doing a really
Marketing.
good influencer
Yeah.
marketing
Yeah.
campaign.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they dominated the world. Amazing.
Yeah, it was like literally the only
Doesn't-
thing everyone could talk about.
Yeah, doesn't mean I've never tried it, so it doesn't mean
I haven't
it's
either.
good,
Oh, I've
bad,
tried it.
whatever.
I really don't like the taste.
Really?
I was
Ooh,
just
I do
I'm
not like
spending
it.
$80 and trust me, I
It's
am
not for
not
me.
somebody who saves money, so it's not like I like
$100 planner.
like, yeah, like at all. But I was like $80 greens powder, like
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for $80, let's think what you could do. For $80, you could get a really good quality multi, and you could buy all your veggies organic for
I
the
was
month.
going to say you could also
do it.
buy your vegetables.
Buy a grass-fed steak
Question.
and have a good
Force
time.
of Nature. That's
Love that
I'm making it
brand.
this week.
Sponsor me.
What's Force of Nature?
It's got organ meat in it.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
They have it at Whole
so
Foods.
it's meat that's grass-fed. I think pasture raised as well, potentially organic. Really good certifications. And they blend a bunch of organ meat into the meat blend. So you're getting nutrient-rich meat for people who are scared of just like buying liver.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That is so good and so legit. So if you're open to it, I would suggest eating it. I've eaten it multiple times. It does not taste weird. Did you try it yet?
No, not yet. I'm going to make I'm going to use the siete and do a little taco bowl thing.
That's literally perfect.
Whole Foods, you say?
Yeah. They also, I think they have it at Jewel. No? Did you
Yeah,
say
they have it at Jewel.
Yeah.
They have it at Whole Foods. It's like everywhere now.
I think you also can buy it online.
You can also ship it online. Correct.
Okay, interesting.
Force of Nature, sponsor us.
Yeah, come on.
Give me some
While
grass-fed
we're on
meat.
this topic of yes and no's,
Yes.
I'm going to hot fire
Yes,
off
yes.
some smash or pass for you.
Okay.
Okay. Kombucha is a daily drink.
Pass.
Why?
Oh, are
Give
we
us
going into
give
this?
us
Okay.
a yes. Give us a quick, just like a.
Sugar, fermentation, a lot of people dealing with candida, a lot of sugar and everything in this country. It's not something you want to be drinking daily.
Amazing.
But it's a great mocktail option. Here for it.
Celery juice first thing in the morning.
Okay. I'm smashing it
Okay.
because I've done it and I liked it, but I'm not saying it's going to cure your issues.
Yeah.
But it's got a bunch of vitamins and minerals and it does help people with constipation. It's cheap and cheerful. Why not?
Okay, great.
But is it going to solve everything? No.
Not a cure, but an appropriate.
It's not a cure. It's a nice adjunct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apple cider vinegar shots for gut
Smash.
health. Smash.
Yeah, helps with
Okay.
stomach acid. SIBO
Okay, now
girlies.
let's talk about apple cider vinegar though, because you can't just go to.
You can't raw dog it. You got to put it in water.
Okay, and there's a certain type, right? There's apple cider vinegar everywhere. You don't just want to buy the.
You want to
salad
get the
dressing.
organic,
Okay, yeah.
I think Bragg's is a good brand. I know they were
Okay,
bought
yeah,
by
yeah.
another company. Everyone's being bought out. Just get something organic. Yeah.
And add water to
Raw apple cider vinegar. Yeah, in a little shot glass, a tablespoon of vinegar and then a little bit of water. It can burn your esophagus over time if you are doing it without water. So you want to coat your esophagus. We want to protect her. The other thing too is apple cider vinegar is really good for blood sugar.
Is this an everyday?
You can do it every day.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. It helps people with blood sugar regulation, which is huge. So that's a natural, cheap as hell way to do it.
Yes to the apple cider vinegar itself. What about the gummy version?
No, cheap, doesn't
Okay.
work.
Love
Fake
it.
marketing.
Intermittent fasting.
Pass.
Okay, I agree.
We talk about this a
Same.
lot. Yeah,
This
screw
is a
that.
buzzword. Intermittent.
Oh, it's just
fasting
so
is-
bad. Every woman today is we're under so much stress.
Yeah.
We're doing workouts. We're busy. We're corporate gigs, all this stuff. Why are you stressing yourself out more with not eating?
Yeah.
Correct.
Why?
Yeah.
If you want to intermittent fast, leave 12 hours from dinner to breakfast. And then
Easy way
move
to do
on.
it, and then keep going.
Because that's good for digestion.
A probiotic versus a naturally fermented food.
Probiotic.
Okay, and then
Yeah.
when you're looking at a probiotic, because I've read some stuff that says sometimes depending on the probiotic itself, it doesn't actually make it through digestion.
Correct.
Because it's not double capsuled or.
Not necessarily that. It
When you're
depends
looking-
on
I
the
guess when
delivery.
you're looking for one, what's
Yeah.
a good thing to pay attention?
More is not better. So a lot of them now in the market are 40 billion, 50 billion. That can actually do more harm because sometimes when you're introducing too much diversity to your gut, it can actually upregulate your immune system. So for people who have gut issues and autoimmune issues, I would not recommend taking a huge dose of a probiotic if you've never been on one before. But there is a label. It's called spore-based. That's the best. I use one. It's called Megaspore Biotic or Q58 from the brand Microbiome Labs. Majority of my clients do really well with that unless they have a histamine issue. And in that case, we would use a different one because probiotics can actually cause worse histamine issues. So you want to be careful there as well. This is why you should work with someone.
This is, yes.
But yeah, I think the actual probiotic supplement is going to do more benefit if you actually need it. Fermented foods are great to have in your diet, diversity for your gut, building that. But it's not going to be enough therapeutic if you're just doing it put a kimchi here or put a little bit of sauerkraut there. It's not with enough intention to actually change anything in your gut.
Okay, cool. We did this one, eliminating gluten for better digestion.
Smash.
Bone broth.
Bone broth.
Smash.
Okay.
Love.
High fiber, low sugar smoothies.
Smash.
Collagen powder.
Smash.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a complete protein.
Right.
But like, if you want to add it in, sure. Why not?
Okay.
Like, is it the best protein source? No, but like, you can add it to things and like, sure.
Okay. All natural organic foods only.
Yeah, smash.
Yes, man. Spicy foods for gut health stimulation.
Pass.
Not fake news.
No, it like can help, but like, clinically, I don't really see that.
Yeah. Okay.
You're either a spicy gal or you're not. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you either like it or you don't. So like, I'm not going to give that to someone.
Yes. Essential oils for gut health.
Smash.
Plant-based diet for better digestion.
Pass.
When would you recommend a plant-based
Never.
diet? Okay, really. Let's talk about that real quick because this is just personal, but I like probably 10 years ago started eating plant-based only. Truthfully, it was something that I was like, let me see if I can just do this for a little bit just to try it. And then like I just never ate it again for a long time. And it wasn't because like I would love to be like the animals, but like I have lambskin handbags. Like it wasn't about the animals.
That's actually a good point. Are people talking about their expensive bags as a vegan?
All the time. Like
Good.
I'm not
Touche.
even gonna lie. And then I just thought that it was like I've watched enough documentaries and we were saying that we read the book
Skinny Bitch.
and like
Was that Bethany's?
No, it was like
different. That was her brand, like the Skinny Bitch.
yes.
I used to drink the
it was
margaritas.
it was a
Two girls, Corey or
I don't even know
don't
their
know.
names. It was a
Okay.
very like toxic book
Toxic,
to help you
ED,
eliminate
like-
some stuff.
Okay.
And it
AKA meat.
heavily like I feel like a lot of these plant-based, which like I totally get it because most of them are like pro-animal people, but they give you like the real gritty about like what's actually going on with the animals, and then you're like gross.
You
like,
get so repulsed that you don't want to eat the
you
food.
don't
I had
like-
the same
yes,
experience.
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I did it for like probably 10 years in total. And then like recently over the course of the last year, I had some lab work done and my CRP was up. So my inflammation was up. My TSH was elevated, but all the rest of my thyroid number, like I had a subclinical thyroid. And at the time, the functional provider that I was seeing was basically trying to explain to me that, like, he's like, I feel like your body is like your lifestyle and the way that you operate up here, and you're not supplementing with like adequate foods to like keep up with what your body needs. So then I was like, okay, well, like, I guess I'll start and see. And so like I slowly started working meat back in, and
Are your labs perfect now?
my like inflammation is
Yeah.
way down. Yeah. Like,
Yeah. I
so
see
give
this
us
a lot.
Give us the
Okay.
tea on that.
So I've never once suggested a vegan diet. I think
So
it's,
I didn't do vegan.
No, I know. I'm just
veg.
saying
Okay,
vegan.
okay.
I think it's literally fraudulent.
It's tough.
It's
too.
tough. It's the reason.
literally can't eat
Well, the
anything.
reason
And same
that-
thing with the gluten free. Like in the same thing with the gluten free one, you actually end up eating shit that's worse for you if you would have just eaten the fucking cheese.
Correct.
Yes.
Like the fake meats are really freaky.
Really bad. Yeah.
They did. I think one of the influencers, Max Lugaveri, he's an author.
Yep.
He did a side by side, like which is fake meat and which is dog food, and people actually couldn't figure out which was which.
Oof.
Yeah.
Gross.
So, anyways, the reason it's not helpful is because in order to detox, you need amino acids. You get amino acids from protein. So if you're eating a vegan diet, how are you detoxing correctly? Like that's
Yeah.
literally not possible because you are not getting the full suite of amino acids that you only get from animal protein. You get some amino acids from plant-based foods, but they're not complete, and it takes a lot of meal planning to get even the right amounts. You have to make sure you're food combining, getting so many different nuts and seeds. It's like it's really hard.
It's a lot, and especially like as somebody who's like, I work out all the time and stuff, and people say it all the time, like, how do you get your protein? And I used to be like, I love when people ask me this question. Have you ever heard of someone suffering from a protein deficiency who just had
lot of
ate
people.
fine, like whatever, and like. I was like, no, like I do fine. But it truthfully, like in order to get even like the amount of protein that it just was so much
It's not.
fucking
It's
food.
not easy. Yeah. And
You're
then
like,
you
it's
get like
cups and cups of lentils, and it's like
it's
you're
too
like,
much.
I can't. Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
And so the second thing too, digestive wise, is that when you're not eating meat, your stomach actually stops producing as much stomach acid because there's not as much demand. It's like, oh, we don't need all this acid because we're not really having anything intense that we need to break down. So a lot of people who come to me who are vegans, they have the same exact presentation that you had. Their labs, thyroid were off. The the CMP you said?
Yeah, CRP, inflammation, yeah.
And then cholesterol is usually what I see off.
Yeah.
Because we need cholesterol, and there's been this war on cholesterol, and honestly, like, this is so important. So if you're listening, you must understand that cholesterol is the backbone for every single hormone. We need cholesterol to make estrogen, progesterone, all of our hormones. And cholesterol is so important that when we don't get it from our diet, our liver will start making cholesterol. So anytime you have a cholesterol issue on your blood work, it usually is not dietary driven. It's because something is going on metabolically, your thyroid's off, something's going on with your liver, you might not be getting enough from your diet, so your body's making more. There's something else going on. It is not what you are eating most of the time. And so when you are not eating animal meat, you're not getting enough cholesterol for the hormone issue. And then we see all the people who are vegan or vegetarian, their hormones are suffering, they're having other secondary issues because it goes back, they're not getting the right nutrients. And so I never, ever, ever recommend a vegan or vegetarian diet. I just don't. And if people come to me, I tell them, I say, I can't get you healthy on that diet. Are you willing to eat fish? Or are you willing to eat eggs? Are you willing to eat maybe a protein powder that's from beef or something?
Sure.
So we can start to diversify. And then when you're less nauseated, you know,
Yeah.
I've had a few people who started as vegan and then slowly, like, one would eat fish and then turkey, and now she's eating meat. And she's like, oh my God, I forgot how much I miss this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
same.
Yeah. That's my take. And I know it's kind of a hot one, but I've never seen someone who's optimal. A lot of people in this country are healthy. I don't think a lot of people in this country are optimal.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
What is your favorite wellness brand?
Yeah. Oh, brand.
Can be a supplement, can be...
I mean, top of mind, but I really do love that company, Microbiome Labs. The reason I love them is because they don't spend any money really on marketing. They put it all in R&D. So they're coming out with, like, state-of-the-art research papers that's light years ahead of what other people are talking about in the industry. They talk a lot about this LPS protein in the gut that causes a lot of inflammation. They're just on it. Everything they come out with is so bomb. I have at least one or two of their products in every single one of my protocols for clients. It's just that good. Outside of that, I know Siete was just sold, but, like, God bless Siete Foods.
Yeah.
Like, they have really done something. I used to live in Austin. I was eating those products way before it was across the country, because usually what happens in Whole Food is they take local foods, they test it out. And so I've been eating Siete for years, and I'm just so proud of that family for making this brand. Like, it is just unbelievable. You know, I do think they're going to stick to the integrity, at least we hope.
Yeah.
But from a food standpoint, like, their stuff is so good. It tastes so good.
It does.
It
They have
tastes
so
so
much
good.
stuff. Like,
Yeah.
the product line's amazing.
Yeah.
And then Simple Mills is also great.
Yes.
Yeah.
They use some sunflower oil, which I have a bone to
Yeah.
pick. But, you know, their stuff is good. So for people who are, like, new bakers, like, they've got some good, like, bread loaves. They actually have a bread mix that's gluten-free. That's really easy to make. It's like oil and water, and you
Easy.
just, like, bake it. It's
Love
really
that.
delicious, and it's cheap. So that could be an option too for people.
Love that.
Yeah.
If you were gonna, like, without knowing anything about anyone's gut health, if you were gonna recommend, like, one supplement, is it a multivitamin? Is it a probiotic? What would it be? Like a good umbrella supplement that, like...
So hard because everyone's so different. A good umbrella supplement, probably a probiotic.
Yeah.
If you're someone with constipation, a different one, but, like, someone just who has, like, general digestive woes, that would help. I mean, honestly, if I actually were to rescind that answer, I think a digestive enzyme would probably be really, like, broad spectrum. Everyone could take that. Because sometimes probiotics can cause issues with the histamine group, the constipated group. It can cause exacerbation of issues if it's too much at once, like diversity in your gut. So I think, to be safe, if you're listening and have digestive issues, a digestive enzyme would be a really good place to start. It will help with bloating. It will help you break down your food more. And a lot of people who have digestive issues aren't breaking down their food well. And we need to make our food work for us. So, yeah.
So for our listeners, any new launches or programs? Are you taking clients?
Yes. How can somebody find you?
A few things. So I'm on Instagram, 3 Pillars Wellness. There's an underscore in between both words. My website is tpwellness.org. That has all the info on coaching. I am taking clients. My prices are increasing in 2025. I have 2 spots left. Thank you. Changing my packages a little bit. More FaceTime, adding some stuff, so it'll be good. I have a group program launching in January.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that will be limited to 15 women who are ready to heal. They don't want to invest as much in the one-on-one. Maybe you don't have severe issues, but you still have some digestive, health, hormone concerns. We will address it all. It basically goes through my foundations, and then there will be other women in the cohort, so you can heal together, which is really, really nice.
Nice, yeah.
And then I have a course that you can do anytime for much less. So
Beat the blow, right?
Break free from IBS course.
Oh,
rebrand and change the
Rebrand.
content. Yeah,
We love that. I love that.
yeah. So specific to IBS sufferers.
Love that.
And this course is on your website.
My website.
Okay.
All right. What's one small, to leave our listeners, one small daily habit they can start, like right now, you're leaving them one small habit they can start to help with their gut or help with their overall health?
Yeah, I would say really have boundaries with your phone. I know that seems totally unrelated to gut health, but most of us wake up, we sleep with our phone next to us, we scroll, we rev up our nervous system, we start the stress dump, we're on our phone all day, we're on it at night, comparison, all the things that are icky on social media. We really need to disconnect from that. And so I think if you can set boundaries, like 30 minutes after waking up, maybe an hour before bed, it's really going to help with your mental health, which will help your gut health.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
Such a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah,
Truly.
no, this has been so
you.
good.
I've just
have
been
a
like
feeling-
literally like, oh my God, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I have a feeling we're going to have a follow-up. at
For
some
sure.
point.
Send questions.
We like barely got into hormones too, and I feel like that's a whole other
I would
piece.
love to do a hormone talk, and we could talk about the whole cycle, what to look for.
Yeah, let's
things like
Let's do
that.
it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Part 2 coming soon.
Yeah.
Because we weren't taught that in sex ed.
No.
Nor were men. Let me just
No,
tell you.
nor were men. Men?
Well, Morgan, thank you so much for
Yes.
coming on, and obviously the
fun.
part 2
Thank
coming
you.
soon.
This was so fun.
And just remember,
Everything's
fine.
You can get us at The Girls Are Fine on
The
Instagram.
Girls Are Fine.
We are on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. What else do we
TikTok,
want to know?
and then don't forget Morgan 3_pillars_wellness.
Yes.
tpwellness.org.
And you can always slide into my DMs.
Yeah.
I answer questions thoroughly, so
Awesome.
I got you.
Love it.
See you
Thanks,
later.
ladies.